fully independent, there's no label who can drop me. Y'all been starting rumors, let me help you with some. Yeah. Y'all can't cancel me, my life is scandal free. There ain't no sponsors taking losses cause the brand is me. My hands are clean, my family and my fans agree. Y'all can't cancel me for facts because you're mad and weak. How's a man say I'm clickbait if he gonna use this face to get clicks on his page? Y'all hypocrites are made. But I ain't tripping about these bullies, it ain't 6th grade. Go ahead and diss me trying to sell a couple mixtapes. I am not playing it safe, I said what I said, it is what it is. I don't care if you mad at me, okay? Go ahead and change the channel. Don't waste your time trying to cancel me, okay? They love me cause they know that I'm it. Say what you want, I guess it is what it is. Haters can talk, but they can't cancel the kid. Go ahead and go off, try and say this is it.
Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com. Hey everybody, back at you once again. About an hour since our last update. I'm Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle, so thanks for joining me. You've come to the right place at AT's Weather. You get the no-hype forecast, the no-hype severe weather coverage, and we break it down to you. Tell you all the science behind all the reasonings as to why things do what they do, and then we put it all together for you and we send you on your way with a smile. So that's what I'll do anyway. All right, well, thanks for joining me. For whatever reason, YouTube was working earlier today and now YouTube's not working for me. I don't know why. It's been flaky the last couple of days, so maybe they're doing something, but the Facebook pages are working, Twitter's working, so you can watch me on those for you guys that normally watch on YouTube. All right, so let's get on with the program, shall we? Let's cut to the chase of what we're talking about here for tonight. First off, if you hadn't noticed, it's kind of cloudy out there. Look at my roof cam, AT's weather cam. Every now and then you'll see some lightning off into the distance here. So we do have some lightning intermixed with some of the rainfall that's out there, but none of it is severe here around central Oklahoma. Matter of fact, let's take a look at the current Doppler radar view, and I'll show you that. So central Oklahoma has cloud cover. And then what you see here is these little positive plus signs. That's all lightning strikes here south of town and also down here southwest Oklahoma. Otherwise, some light to moderate rainfall from Oklahoma City up toward Tulsa. And then as far as the heavier precipitation goes, that's down around Lawton, Marlow, Duncan area, and Walters. So just some heavy thunderstorms here with the lightning like we talked about, and maybe some very small pea-sized hail at most. So those storms that were pretty strong early on, even potentially tornadic at some point in their life cycle, have since diminished and amounted to nothing at this point other than just some beneficial rainfall. So that's good news for down there because, you know, every raindrop you can get, we're going to need because it's been a little dry lately. Okay, so here's a look at the upper levels of the atmosphere. Area of low pressure aloft is now dipping down to the desert southwest here. So it's a big, broad trough axis that swings on around it. And I told you the best instability from this upper level disturbance was kind of in this anchored region here. The problem is it wasn't exactly juxtaposed with the best ingredients for storms. So what that means is a last minute run of moisture and instability, try to get in here into southwest Oklahoma and parts of northwestern Texas to get some of those storms to go. They did not succeed very well in the dry line today out here. They tried to, a couple of them, they just couldn't make it. It was too anemic, not enough moisture and instability. So there you go. So there's a look at the overall big picture of things as to what's happening here for tonight. Temperatures are cooling back into the upper 60s now. The rain cooled air, low 70s down along the Red River. Thus the temperatures in red. Green numbers are the dew point values, and they're into the mid 60s. So we've got plenty of moisture that has returned. Now, here's the big thing today. Models blew big time, which we talked about that, how that was on the table, is the cap. The cap strength is way too high today. So if I look at this forecast sounding and we were to plot what would be the temperatures that would rise in the air, this little blue line here, everything you see to the right of that, this little red temperature, is the cap. This is the inversion, and it's monster. You couldn't get a a rooted storm to go up in this environment if you paid it. So it's just not going to do it. Now the shear was pretty decent. Shear was great for tornadoes. It just wasn't good for thunderstorms. That's why I stayed quiet today. And then the ones that we did have in far southern Oklahoma, which was a little bit different environment down there, by the time they moved northeast into this atmosphere that we have here, they all died, just vanished. It was just sad. So here's a look at, let's see, let's do this. 6 hours, go back an hour, there we go. Hail. A lot of it did fall with those storms down here in northwestern Texas. So these are the hail tracks out here. A couple of those snuck in far southwest Oklahoma briefly before dying out. And there was a couple here in the Panhandle that tried to get going for some small hail out there. But otherwise, the big hail maker was right here just across the border into northwest Texas for today. So the severe weather threat for Wednesday is still on the table. Now, this graphic may be adjusted a little bit, but the general consensus is you get a slight risk of severe weather back across the state for wind, hail, and a potential tornado. Although the threats there listed are low. And then flood potential down across the southeastern third of the state, like we talked about, especially the farther away you travel from Oklahoma City. And I'm going to show you a forecast map for rainfall totals here in a second. You're going to be like, what? So, yeah. Now, tomorrow, when you go back and look at tomorrow's setup of the analog data, it actually favors tornadoes. Today, it did not. Tomorrow it does, and it does over a larger area of the state, right here over central and east central Oklahoma. So keep this in the back of your mind. Tornadoes are in the forecast tomorrow. I'm going to show you why looking at the forecast sounding. Hail-wise, the threat for that for the day, it does have it, same thing across the body of the state. These aren't huge percentages, but they're out there, and there's some damaging wind, again, mainly focused on the eastern sides of the state. So the west and northwest side, it has more hail aspect of it, less of a tornado threat, whereas the tornado threat is more of central and eastern and southern Oklahoma and North Texas for the threats for tomorrow. Now, let's get into it. I'm going to start you off with we're just going to look at the one model tonight, the 3-kilometer NAM. It's really done the best so far at this event. So we're going to put this in motion to about 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Yeah, let's do 5 o'clock. So what you see on the purple is dew point values in the low 70s. All right, and they drop off into the upper 60s to low 60s to 50s out here in western Oklahoma. So you want dew point values for severe weather to be at least here low 60s. What you really want is low 70s. So this is this right here is what we call a theta E axis. This is actually pooling of moisture of the dew point values along a frontal boundary. So there's actually a front in here, and I'm going to draw that on this static map here. And there's also a couple of areas of mini low pressure systems. So there's one here, one there, one here, probably one down here. Now, any one of these can be a little bit stronger or weaker than the others, but they're riding along this stalled frontal boundary that moves right in Oklahoma City about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, so that is a boundary to get off our next round of storms for later tomorrow after the first round moves out in the morning. This particular boundary, if you can get a couple of supercell storms to develop and adjust the vorticity along this boundary, you can potentially squeeze out a tornado out of that. And it might be a significant tornado due to the extra increase in vorticity. It won't because of the wind speeds of the surface, because those are pretty weak. So it's going to have to offset with this little extra spin in the atmosphere. So that's the little zone. So here through Oklahoma City, we're in that spot. Depends exactly where that front stops. That's the danger zone. So we'll watch where that front lines up tomorrow. Right now, the latest model data has it indicated over the I-35 corridor here in central Oklahoma. And then, of course, it stretches northeast and southwest a bit down 44. All right, so what does it look like is going to happen with this? Two things before I even get to the, let's see. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. So this is the forecast sounding just on the east side of that front here in Oklahoma County. So that's the one I picked on the map. So the take home here, shear is definitely adequate for tornado development. However, there is a weakness around 20 knots here in the mid-levels from 1 to 3 kilometers. If you look over here on the left, that goes back of this left of this little dashed line. Well, anytime you get a weak wind field, it disrupts the life cycle of the supercell storm that can produce a tornado. So it's a detrimental aspect of it. In other words, it'll spend a lot of its energy and time trying to overcome this limitation, which is good if you don't want tornadoes. Now, doesn't mean it's not what's going to happen. It just means it's a limiting factor. So let's put it that way. It's not a healthy factor for tornadoes. Regardless, though, we're going to have plenty of instability. Cape values up around at least 2 to 3,000, depending on if it's service based or mixed based. No cap at all. So this is going to be one of these embedded storms in a mixed bunch of other mess. It's a convective mess with an embedded tornado. That looks like that's how that's going to work for tomorrow. And you can get a couple of them in that environment. It just depends on which storm gets out of control, because the overall environment is suggestive of that. We also talked about the heavy rainfall. This is the heavy rainfall map I talked about at the beginning of this broadcast. So there are some spots in here where you see the yellow to orange up around 4 inches of rainfall. Okay, so there's a couple of streaks here in central Oklahoma. So the models are finally picking up on this stuff. This is starting with tonight, goes through Thursday. So we've extended the rainfall threat through Wednesday into Thursday morning at least. Here in southeast Oklahoma, in McAllister's little brown area, that's around 10 inches of rain. Now, the model won't have exact track of where the what we call training will occur, but it's going to be pretty close. In other words, flash flooding is looking more and more likely each time we talk about this as a model QPF continues to go up. So yeah, it may say 3.5 inches here on the screen, but if you jot about 10 miles north and west of town, you're back into almost a foot of rain. That's ridiculous. So that's what's on the table, so I got to be careful of flash flooding. Remember, it kills more people than any other weather-related phenomenon, so it's very important that you pay attention to that. Okay, so now let's look at the rest of the severe weather aspect and the rainfall, how things ought to progress. So we've got the storms out there for tonight. Those are going to move on off into central Oklahoma through the rest of our evening, overnight into tomorrow. So the first, actually, is like a wave that ends a little after midnight. That moves into eastern Oklahoma, dissipates, and a new wave comes in as we head into the, let's call it 3 o'clock hour to 4 to 5, moving into central Oklahoma. It's a pretty good rough stuff of storms. You might even get some good hail out of that. And hail sizes should be about 1 inch in diameter or less. I don't think there'll be anything bigger than that. But wouldn't be surprised to see some hail mixed in with some of that thunder that you're going to hear by late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So your drive time is going to be a little wet. Anyway, that round continues to push off into eastern Oklahoma. There's 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Now you see this model still kind of produces these scattered area precipitation. That's because there's no more cap in place to prevent it from happening. It's just a free-for-all. It's called the warm sector. Now, the other issue is, where is that front going to lie? Well, you can kind of see hints of where the front may be in this little output here. But we know the front is still moving during the middle part of the afternoon. That's lunchtime, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. See, it goes through bouts where it does try to dry things up. But then here's 3, starting to form a nice storm here in central Oklahoma. Then it kind of dissipates, and then we've got some more that kind of start to bubble up. And by this point, the front's lined up, like we showed you earlier, pretty much right along where this reflectivity band is down south. Okay, so any one of these, all right, as long as they stay anchored or very close to this front, they could have tornado potential. Now, the overall shear environment in this region is favorable for tornado in general. However, there's a very big weakness. The very lowest level winds are very weak. And typically, a storm will have a very hard time producing a tornado or having one last very long in that environment. It still can, it's a harder struggle for it. So there's not a great probability for tomorrow, but it is on the table, so I do expect a couple. And I do expect at least to see one along this frontal boundary somewhere here in central Oklahoma. Could that be Oklahoma City? For sure, it could. It could be just north, it could be just south of town too. It's just right along that boundary. There's no way to pick the exact spot where that storm's going to fire in this environment, because they'll be kind of firing all over the place. You just have to get one that just gets a little more carried away than the others. Okay, so there's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You see how those storms kind of rough there between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and then there's 8 p.m. and 9. They're still going. Now, keep in mind, usually once you get to the too late of an hour, the tornado threat diminishes somewhat, but you still have a pretty decent hail threat, at least with this storm here in McAllister. I'll plot the wind shear map here in the sounding just in case. Take a look at it. This might be a case where the tornado threat would linger a little longer, because it looks like to me the shear is still great. Lifting condensation levels are low. You really don't have much of a cap at all, so some good elevated instability as well. This may be one of those deals where the tornado threat kind of hangs in a little longer. So let's go back to that time frame. Let's see, where are we? Wednesday at 10 p.m. All right, so there's back to 9 and 10 p.m. around southeast Oklahoma. So watch out for a couple of tornadoes there. Overnight period. There's midnight, more heavy storms in southeast Oklahoma. Plus, remember, you got that flooding to deal with as well. So it's going to be a mess down there. There's 4 or 5 o'clock on Thursday. And then Thursday itself, there's some more showers coming into western Oklahoma. You might have some rumbles of thunder with that as the main upper low starts to move across Texas. It's not a whole lot of activity that it's showing, but at least there's a little bit of light rain off and on Thursday. And then by Friday morning, it looks like it's all exited out of the whole region. So there you go. There's your whole entire spin there. Now, temperature-wise, over the next few days, we're going to warm you back into the 80s eventually, probably by the time we head to Monday. Until then, it's in the 70s for a while. Over at Lowe's, we'll be getting colder with that front moving through tomorrow night. So back into the low 50s and brief warm-up, and then another cool-down. So the up and down roller coaster ride continues. All right, so that is everything that you need to know so you can sleep well tonight. Usually I do cover the storms when they're tornadic in nature. Like tonight, we did a live for about an hour because of what had occurred. So we had a storm that was just this close. Produced a funnel 3/4 of the way down. Velocity looked good for about one sweep. Came on live, tornado warning was issued, and then it dissipated quickly after that. Never got its act together. Then another one south of there did the same kind of idea, then it never got its act together. So that's kind of how it is. Sometimes you have to babysit them and see if they do anything. You just kind of watch trends. Okay, so let me go to my patrons here real quick. Now keep in mind there will still be some storms, like we said, overnight, especially in southern Oklahoma, with a little bit more bite to them. In other words, a lot more lightning and probably a little better opportunity for some hail than here in central Oklahoma. They have a tendency to keep weakening when they come further north into that stronger capping layer. Okay, let's see. So on the main page, let me just scroll through here real quick, see if I can answer any of your questions that may shoot out at me. So Allison wants to know, will be the major threat for Tulsa? So I talked about Tulsa, so that whole area in eastern Oklahoma. So you just kind of have to keep in mind. So no, Tim, we're not talking about long track tornadoes tomorrow. We're also not talking about an outbreak either. But there will be storms, and there should be a couple of tornadoes in the state. So I'm just kind of scrolling through you guys' comments. So Allison, just the back of your mind, just know what your tornado precautions are, what your plan is for the family should you be under a warning. Yeah, Western Oklahoma does need some more rain, Kayla. They always need more rain out there. So Emily's only been in Oklahoma 2 years and feels way better during storm season now that she's found AT's weather. Oh, thanks, Emily. Let's see. Thanks for the stars, by the way. See, several of you sent me some tonight, so thank you, ladies. It's funny, either you love the music at the beginning or you hate it. You guys have to understand, I don't always pick a song because of the genre or because of, whatever. I sometimes pick just because of the words that are in it and how it can apply to maybe something I'm doing currently or what's, in the news or in the world today. So let's see. Addison says, if I had a storm shelter, I'd feel a lot better. Hopefully there won't be a pop-up tornado in Tulsa. Well, ditto on that, but since you brought that up, this is what you do. I repeat all these helpful tips, while we're covering severe storms, because there's a lot to fill in, to talk about. We watch for storms to do something sometimes. But on a tornado warning for the kids, family, obviously the more time you have, the better you are. So make sure you get my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It's free. Just type in AT's Weather in Google or Apple Play stores. It will predict the tornado before it actually occurs. It takes a look at all the indices and gives a probability forecast, and then it gives you a twisting storm alert on a scale of 1 to 10. If that number is any higher than a 4, pay attention very closely. Go ahead and get things together. If it's a 7 or higher, just hit the deck. Don't even question it, because from all the cases in the past, 7 is about the trigger point to where it's a guaranteed tornado. If it's 8, 9, and 10, it's you better be in your shelter. So it's very specific. It only warns you if you're in the immediate path. It doesn't warn you if you're at the other end of the county and it's not coming toward you. So it's very specific. So it goes on your location. All right. So with that out of the way, you've got a few extra minutes, right? So what are you going to do with that? Well, obviously you're going to know where to go. So if Oklahomans and everything don't have basements usually. Some people don't have storm shelters, and that's fine. If you do, anyone will work. As long as it was built by according to FEMA guidelines, whether it's above or below, doesn't matter. As long as it was built correctly, then they're fine. Make sure you register it with the local county or city so that they know where to find you, should the search party be needed, so they can get you out of there in case you're to become trapped for some reason. You won't be trapped for long. Take a few supplies with you to shoot you the next few hours. Usually a little snack or bottle of water, batteries for your phone, that kind of stuff, your tablet, your computers, whatever you want to take down there with you, your important papers. But kids, make sure they put on they play sports. We always tell them to put on those soccer or the football attire, helmets and pads and all that kind of stuff. So anything you got to protect them from flying debris is really what it is. And then there's an old school adage that still works. Get in a bathtub and put a mattress on top of you. Same reason, you're basically putting up a mini wall around you from flying debris. That's the whole point of that. And the mattress is heavy, so it'll keep you kind of protected in there as more debris flies around. So it's always a good train of thought for that. But anyway, it's a central part of your home. So if it's not a bathroom, it could be a closet, it could be under stairwell. But whatever it is, a small confined area that's away from all the outside walls and windows. And again, the main reason is for flying debris. That's what kills people is the flying debris part and more of the injuries during an actual tornado. When the tornado is over, the bigger injury, believe it or not, is you walking with your bare feet on nails that will be all over the place. So bring shoes with you when you go down to your hidey hole. That's really about it. Other than that, I've never heard of anybody ever getting trapped in a storm shelter forever and no one found them. So you put that out of your mind. That's a fear. It's one of this guy talking in your ear, and the other guy's saying, don't worry about that. And this guy's going, no, you should worry about that. This guy's saying, this is stupid. This guy says, no, you can be trapped forever. So don't listen to this guy. Do a puppet show. AT's puppet show. Anyway, that's silly. So, who's asking for Larry? Liz is asking for Larry. And then Reese just sent some stars for Larry. What is Larry doing, Jody?
Oh, honey.
He's groggy. That's the best Larry. The best Larry is a groggy Larry. All right, so since some of you folks are calling for Larry, I think we're going to bring Larry out.
Yeah, I am.
He was a little sleepy. Aww. Here, buddy. Okay, so if you haven't seen Larry yet, this is Larry. Say hi, buddy. Say hi, everybody. Hi, my name's Larry. I'm a teacup Yorkie. I weigh 3 pounds, which seems really light until I'm being held forever. And then it turns out to be really heavy after a while. It's dead weight. So anyway, this is little Larry. Ironically, this didn't all plan out, of course, on purpose. It just happened this way. But Jody's dad, her late dad, was named Larry. And it turns out my dad was named Larry. So it just made sense to have little Larry. So anyway, he looks sleepy. Sorry, buddy. Mom interrupted your nap just so I can hold you and tell you, say hi to everybody. They've been calling for you for the last few shows, So, all right. You're getting a little wiggly. I'm going to have to let you go. Getting rowdy. All right. There you go. So that was little Larry. And he's 3 years old. So that's as big as he gets, by the way. All righty. Well, that's been it for me. Thanks for watching tonight. You know what the forecast is for tomorrow? I'll see if I can't do a lunchtime live tomorrow. That's meetings today I was in, so I couldn't do one today. I got meetings tomorrow. We'll see if I can't squeeze it in between. But if I can, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll just watch radar trends. And if it looks like there's going to be a couple of storms that start to get out of control, I'll do live updates. We'll cover those tornadoes for you, tell you exactly where they are, where they're heading, all that stuff, and keep you safe. All right, you guys sleep well tonight. Take care.